Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cloud Security Alliance's Cloud Threats and Vulnerabilities Summit 2024. And thanks for joining us today. In this session, we're going to talk about SSE, secure and access from everywhere, even in the cloud. My name is Jay Tilson, and I'm joined by my colleague and my friend, John Spiegel. Together, John and I have over 50 years of enterprise experience running large infrastructure and security teams. We've spent the bulk of our career sitting in your chairs, and we've experienced the same daily challenges as you. And not just those technical challenges, but the cultural, budget and resource challenges also. We believe that stitching together a bunch of solutions that worked in the early 2000s no longer works in this new world of the hybrid workforce, and that there are really better ways of doing things. So let's get started. The enterprise is undergoing the most significant transformation in history. Companies are adopting cloud services like never before, with many having a cloud-first approach. This means that the legacy systems that we always used to be on-prem are now being moved to software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. There has been a huge rise in the number of IoT devices in use, and statistics show that there will be more than 15 billion IoT devices connected to the enterprise infrastructure by 2029. The pandemic also created a massive shift in our workforce, with hybrid work now being the norm for more than 50% of our workforce, and many of them expected to continue to be remote. This means our users, their devices, our data, and our applications are now everywhere. And these huge changes require a new approach when it comes to network security to keep access safe and fast. Our legacy solutions are no longer sufficient, with more and more companies being compromised. Statistics show that the average cost of a data breach now stands at $4.8 million, up more than 25% since 2022. I want to discuss some more statistics, but before we move on, let this one just sink in for a while. 80% of organizations found IoT devices on their network that they did not install or secure. That's very scary. So let's discuss a few more statistics. In 2023, there was a 270% increase in social engineering threats over what was seen in 2021. And this number is expected to rise even higher in 2024. This rise has led to over 1 out of 5 companies falling victim to some form of ransomware attack, and this trend is increasing at an alarming rate. This concern is what is on the mind of every CISO that John and I speak to, whenever we're in the field. And what we do believe, and what they believe is the biggest risk, are legacy VPN solutions. 92% are concerned that their legacy VPN solutions are going to jeopardize their environment in some way. And this really shouldn't be a surprise. We have all seen in the press that there is a huge increase in attacks against legacy VPNs over the last few months. We should remember that these solutions have been around for decades. And although they are considered mature, this means that many companies are no longer investing in them or patching them. Unfortunately for us, the companies that sell them are really only interested in maintenance releases, and that's it. So recently, in conjunction with Cybersecurity Insiders, we performed a survey against organizations on exactly this topic, and we have created a VPN risk report, which John will talk about further now.
Thank you, Jay, for that introduction. The VPN risk report shows that security is becoming more and more of a challenge. It's in the news. Think about it. Lockbit, Caesars, MGM. How does this start? Oftentimes, it starts with phishing for an identity. Then it's MFA fatigue. The bad actors get in. They move on to the IDP. They increase their privileges and then begin to move laterally. They find the critical data. Maybe some of that data is important. Maybe it's embarrassing. Maybe it's the corporate secrets. It's easy to understand why these results are scary. Only 67% of leaders in the security space are confident in their security solutions. That's a big number. Leading it is VPN. It is a risk, but it's also part of a greater system that we need to talk about, which is consolidating tool sets. It's about SASE and SSE. These are the paths we need to take to start to solve these problems. It's also about moving to a new strategy called Zero Trust. But let's also take a look at some of the other priorities that security leaders are dealing with. and some of their challenges. Key items here to consider is that technology is really a tool. It's a tool to solve business challenges. And what are the biggest challenges facing network and security teams? Here's what we learned in the VPN risk report. First, it's all about serving your customers. The challenge that leaders today have is that smooth transition between applications that lived in the data center and now the SaaS applications or the IaaS applications that live in the cloud. The difficulty here is that it's hard to do with VPN. The employee, your customer, is asked to what, how, and where do I access that application? Do I need to use VPN? And if so, oftentimes it's which VPN? The second piece that we're seeing is how do I accelerate my zero trust program? Keep in mind, zero trust, it is a journey. It is a path that you have to walk. It's a path that is long and winding, and you encounter many obstacles. The challenge for the leader is, how do I get a quick win? How do I jumpstart my program? We'll talk about later in this webinar about what the CISO can do to jumpstart that program and options to go down that journey. Then there's also a new item that's showing up, and this is simplicity. More often, the CISOs, the leaders, are looking to simplify their portfolio of solutions. They have a number of discrete applications, tools in their box that they use. Oftentimes, I've heard and been out walking or talking with CISOs, and I've heard anywhere that they have 15 to 70 to sometimes 80 different discrete security tools. Stitching all of these tools together to gain visibility, to gain insights into really what's going on in security has become hard. So now what we're seeing is a shift towards simplicity, trying to simplify that portfolio. The final item is budget. As we all know, leaders are being asked to do more with less. And this is another area that we can talk about and have a discussion on around VPN and the greater portfolio of security solutions.
Thank you for that, John. Before moving on, I think it's just worth reminding everyone about the three approaches in which we can secure our workforce today. Firstly, we have the hub and spoke design. This is the progression from the old castle and moat design, where everyone was inside the perimeter. But this design still focuses on having on-prem security, even though users and their data had started to move to the cloud. With this design, there is still a heavy reliance on MPLS, internal data centers, as well as those risky VPN solutions that we all know about. In my experience, this model is complex to configure and to administrate. You need to feed in water the applications to ensure they remain secure, and you also have to go through hardware renewal cycles and continually patch all of your systems to protect yourself. Getting downtime to do this type of patching is extremely difficult, as more often than not, a VPN solution, for instance, is in use 24/7. Another option is virtualized cloud firewalls. This is an evolution of the hub and spoke design, where you start to move some of those legacy-based security systems that used to run on hardware on your premises to cloud-based solutions. This was really driven by the firewall vendors who wanted to protect their revenues and continue to sell tin. The main aim here was really to remove some of the burdens of keeping your system secure. However, in a lot of cases, this still meant backhauling internet traffic to your corporate network and still continuing to use those same risky VPN solutions. Although this design was supposed to make things simpler to manage, in my experience, it really led to further complexity and cost. Then we have SSE. In my mind, this is a solution that's built today for today, and it takes into account that our applications, our data, our users, and their devices are now everywhere. So let's talk a little bit about what people are asking for when they talk about a modern SSE solution. They want a solution really that is built from the ground up with simplicity in mind. We all know that complexity really does not make for good security design. They want a single solution from a single vendor with a single UI that sat on top of a single data lake, with a single reporting engine for all elements of SSE. They want the solution to be built from the ground up with zero trust as part of its DNA. People do not want a bunch of separately acquired or developed products brought together. That's too complex to manage and to administrate, and often leads to frustration from the IT and security teams as well as from the users. They want to secure access from any type of user, whether they're an enterprise employee or those hard-to-manage third-party and contractors, where installing an agent is impossible. They want to give access to all of their resources, including private applications, SaaS applications, or the internet, and all from a single place. They also want the solution to be built today for today, and they know that the way the architecture is developed really does matter. They want a solution that is built on top of the cloud giants, with all of the features of SSE being available everywhere, rather than a solution that is built in legacy data centers on top of hardware. This does not make for a flexible or elastic solution that can grow quickly to meet their needs. They also don't want to have to use different POPs for different features of SSE. Instead, all POPs should offer all features for the best possible user experience. The architecture should also eliminate bandwidth problems, be resilient and redundant, and it really is all about user experience, so all types of users, all of the time. And most importantly, and what I think a lot of people forget, is it's critical for their users to always get the fastest possible access to resources from wherever they are, without the need to backhaul to the corporate network and without having to rely on technologies like legacy firewalls or VPNs. So I want to dive a little bit deeper. When you look at the SSE market, you will find that each vendor has a solution that emphasizes one of these core technologies areas. It could be Secure Web Gateway, as the company started there. Or maybe it's Cloud Access Security Broker, as that was the target market that they were looking at being competitive in. Then the other areas of SSE were added via acquisition or built by separate products or by a different team. However, as we discussed, what people want today is very different than what they wanted in the past. They really do not want complexity, but they do want simplicity. They want a product that is about transition into a new security strategy based on the concept of zero trust. The platform should be designed to provide the resources required to perform a function and nothing more. And if anything changes, then access should be adapted quickly or revoked. We're finding that third-party and contractor access is really seen as the biggest risk by many people I talk to. And this means that many people are starting their journey with a solution that meets these specific needs for these specific users. They want agentless zero trust network access for these hard to manage third parties and contractors, where we all know it's really impossible to deploy an agent. They also want a tool that's able to support all ports and protocols, as well as server initiated flows, so that they can fully replace their risky VPNs. They also want in the same solution, and that's key, Secure Web Gateway for securing their employees from internet-based threats. But it needs to be more than just blocking based on category. It needs to also have things like DNS control and SSL inspection for malware. And then there is CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker. They want to secure access to all of their SaaS applications such as SharePoint, Facebook, and Salesforce. But they want to be able to control upload and download as well. But again, remember it's key. They want it from a single UI. Then lastly, there is DEM, Digital Experience Monitoring. This is a critical item for me and for John. When our users left our castles and moats, we lost a lot of the visibility that we had into what they were doing. Customers want to monitor user performance and be able to troubleshoot user access issues. And they want to be able to do it across all elements of SSE and all from that single UI.
And as Jay brought up, these are lessons we've learned working out on the road, talking with customers. And those customers, they're the key. Their challenges are similar to yours. They are the storytellers that help us on our journey to network and security convergence. Take, for instance, Delta Dental. Their obstacle was multiple VPNs. Each had a different time, a different M&A, and maybe a different leadership at the time that VPN was brought in. The result? Complexity, cost, and employee experience. Do I use this VPN to access the dental records? Do I use another one to understand where patient information is? Their CISO worked with their CIO to consolidate their portfolio, but he had a greater vision. How do I supercharge my zero trust program? He did it with an agentless approach. Key applications were placed behind a ZTNA platform. The result, easier to manage, lower cost, and better business outcomes. Or maybe it's a customer like UKG. They decided to reduce their vendor landscape by moving to a full unified SASE platform. Consolidate products like VPN, SWIG, DLP, and then add in SD-WAN, all from a single vendor. This allowed them to reduce their vendor landscape, keep track of and reduce their operational costs, provided greater visibility, and as Jay mentioned, most of all, digital experience monitoring. That digital experience monitoring allowed them to understand how their line of business applications were performing. If so, why is an application slow? Is it due to the front end? Is it due to the last mile? Or is it due to something going on the client device? The result, shift left in what was in the past engineering work, move it to operations. And then finally, how do you migrate to a new point of sale system and also secure it while transforming your network? VisionWorks did this with a cloud-based ZTNA program. Retail transactions backed with a zero trust approach. It also helped to jumpstart their network transformation. Greater security outcomes at a lower price point. It's more than moving off VPN. That is what SSE and SASE are about. So how do you do it? Let's show you a roadmap. It's really about this. You need to figure out where your business problems are. What are you looking to solve? In many cases, when Jay and I are out speaking with customers, the challenges that they have are really around third parties. A recent report out of Dark Reading showed that 60% of breaches are caused by third-party interactions. Moving to a new model, leveraging an agentless ZTNA approach helps in this manner. It's also a way to get a quick win in your zero trust program. The process allows you to basically create a portal and add in your key applications that third parties may have. They're then able to access those applications leveraging a zero trust method. The result is they only gain access to the applications that they need in order to perform their job. After you start to secure, or after you complete the security of your third parties, next you can move on to replacing VPN, doing it with an agent-based approach, an approach that allows you to leave no applications behind, even including those more difficult to convert server-initiated protocols, such as voice over IP or server-initiated patching. It's all supported through several of the vendors in the space. After that, start to layer on additional features. Add in Secure Web Gateway to protect yourself from the threats of the internet. Or maybe it's you want to secure those difficult SaaS applications. If so, leverage a CASB. Then start to bring it all together. Reduce the number of point products within your portfolio. Move to a more platform approach from a single vendor. The benefits are you get to start to take advantage of digital experience monitoring. Also, a lot of that data is then put into a single data lake where the data can be mined and eventually start to add in new technologies using ML and AI techniques. This will allow you to lower your operational burden. The key takeaway here is, again, to find that business problem you want to solve. But it's also start the journey. Put one foot in front of the other. So what is next? The options are really yours. One option is to reach out to us. Discuss a value assessment. We will work with you and your teams to understand how you can get the best value out of this new technology framework. What tools are you looking to consolidate? What hardware can we help you retire? Or you can say, hey, I want to see more of the product. If so, reach out and ask for a demo. We'd love to show you the simplicity that we believe is extremely powerful and effective for your company. Complexity, it doesn't lead to good security designs. Simplicity is the right path. So it's really up to you to pick your own path. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to myself and Jay Tilson. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.